Happy Thanksgiving Eve and welcome to episode 91 of the Jacksonian. I'm yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and I'm here with another writer for Bucknuts247. Yes, my friends, we're going all in on the Ohio State side of the game for the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry for 2025. Is Ohio State going to end the losing streak? What happens if Ohio State loses? Are they still in the Big Ten title game? Well, that's why we got Patrick Murphy. Because let me tell you something, you're going to be in for a wild ride, all right here on the Jackson episode 91 with the beat writer of Bucknuts247 of 247 himself, Patrick Murphy. How you doing today, buddy?
Good, good. Appreciate you having me on again. As we were saying before we started recording, I think it was the Penn State game a year ago, so it's been a while.
Oh man, it's definitely been a minute, because it's just been fun. And I'm like, and this time you got the red background. I love it.
Yeah. I record these in my living room, and it's not much of a background. So once I was able to do this, it's like, yeah, that's better than people just seeing my closet that's behind me.
Well, there you go. So it's like, I bet you have fun doing this. Like,
Yeah, right.
It
works all right. It works all right.
Oh man! And for those who don't know about the magic you create on Bucknuts247, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been doing this with Bucknuts since 2016, so we're going on 10 years. I was working at a small independent Ohio State related site before then. But yeah, it's football, basketball mixed in. Obviously, with the college football playoff and Ohio State's run a year ago, football has taken on even a bigger role. I felt like we hardly covered basketball last year with the playoff going until late January. But yeah, we cover it all. Some other sports too when needed. But yeah, I've enjoyed doing it for this long. And look, I'm excited for this weekend. It's a busy week with Thanksgiving, as we said. But I don't think you would, if you're a fan or anyone involved with college football, I'm not sure there's a game people get more excited for during the regular season. You talk about the Iron Bowl, talk about the Egg Bowl, talk about OU Texas. I obviously don't have firsthand experience with those, but I can tell you with this one, I just saw Nick Saban talking about how crazy Ohio State fans are for caring about this rivalry so much. It's like Nick Saban coached at Ohio State briefly, so I don't know how he doesn't get it, but I know it is different than other rivalries out there.
Well, I mean, Nick Saban coached the Iron Bowl, and you would think that, and it's like, love Coach Saban to death, but come on. It's the game, the Iron Bowl, the Notre Dame USC rivalry, the Red River. Hey, we're gonna make sure Notre Dame USC brought back one way or another. It's like if Netflix has to do it, if the Peacock app has to do it, so be it. But that's another topic for another day. Man, I don't worry. We'll be talking about your favorite moments of the game all time, your top 5 moments, because it's we're gonna make sure of that. Like whether they were before you were born, during your lifetime, all of it. Because I'm going to say that's going to be fun. But, looking at the Buckeyes through this season, 11-0, you've likely clinched a playoff berth. But there's one thing standing in your way. That losing streak against Michigan. 4 straight years. And I don't know why, but I feel like if we were in the BCS era, the 4-team era, Ryan Day would be in trouble. I think that the 12-team era, that's been good for him. I'm glad that he's still around, no doubt about it. And it was like when I talked with Steve Hellwagon yesterday, I feel that Ryan Day is a little bit like Eric Parsegian from 1964-74, where Parsegian did a fantastic job with Notre Dame, but one problem was he always had that losing record to USC.
Mm-hmm.
2 ties, most of them losses, including where you're getting smacked down in 1974, and where in 1964, your first year, USC spoils natty hopes in Notre Dame's first year with Parsegian, but 1966-73 were national title years for Notre Dame. The only year where Notre Dame beat USC that didn't result in an A was 1965, right? But we look at Ryan Day, 2019, Ohio State wins against Michigan. That's not going to be a problem, right? 2020, well, COVID happened. But then 2021 to now, it's basically been Michigan dominating the rivalry. What's got to happen for the Buckeyes to
Yeah,
just put an end to this losing streak?
yeah. I think. Look, the one game that stands out in these last four really is last year, right? Ohio State comes in almost 20-point favorites. Michigan was not having a good season, and that's the one where it really was obvious that things had gotten into Ryan Day's head and this coaching staff. They have all these weapons on the outside. They're not throwing the ball. It's a beautiful day in Columbus in late November. There was really no reason not to just throw the ball all over Michigan's depleted secondary. They didn't do it. So I think the run in the playoff and what they've done so far this year has kind of shifted Ryan Day's focus from, hey, we have to prove something, to, hey, I won a national championship playing Ohio State football. Let's just play Ohio State football. So I think going to Ann Arbor this year, this is a much better Michigan team, let's be honest. And I expect this to be, on paper, a more competitive game than what we thought it was going to be going into last year. But I think they just need to go out there and play their game. Now, there are questions, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. How healthy are both of those guys? How much can they play? Will they play all that? But I think, honestly, with the defense and the way that's played for Ohio State this year under Matt Patricia and with all the talent they have, you should be able to handle business if you don't get caught up in kind of getting out of character against the Wolverines, which I think has haunted the Buckeyes in the past. So, doing what you've done to this point in the season, I think, is going to be critical. Obviously Michigan will have some things that they're going to want to do as well, and you have to be able to stop that and deal with that. But Michigan has a freshman quarterback. Their top receiver is a freshman wide receiver. I was doing a podcast with one of our Michigan guys earlier today, and he was saying, they're really kind of in a transition year. So yes, this game's on the road, but if you go out and do the things that you are capable of, I think Ohio State has the opportunity to win. It's just that that sits there that's formulated over these last 4 years and that 4-game losing streak.
And looking at these last 4 years, what has been one key that you've noticed, one common denominator from all 4 of them?
Well, Ryan Day somebody must have told him this at some point, and it's stuck in his head, that the team that wins the rushing battle wins the game. And he said it multiple times over the last 4 years heading into this game. And I think that's why last year you saw him try and run, even though, Michigan's strength was their defensive tackles and Ohio State was playing a backup center and, wasn't strong on the interior of the offensive line at that moment. And frankly, only one of their 2 running backs was really good at running up the middle, but they ran them both up the middle. So I think that the fact that we didn't hear that from Ryan Day this week, we will talk to him one more time before the game. But the fact that wasn't something he repeated during his weekly press conference is a positive sign for Buckeye fans, because I do think that just has been in his head. If Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer won the game by winning the rushing battle, then he has to do it that way. Well, football's evolved. The Buckeyes have evolved. He has changed this team into a quarterback-driven, at least offensively, quarterback-driven, wide receivers, all that group. So, I think the recognition is there. It doesn't matter how you win this game, just like it didn't matter how you beat Tennessee or any of the teams you faced in the College Football Playoff. It just mattered that you won. And that's the key on Saturday is just go out and win. If you have to throw it 50 times to do that, so be it. No one's going to talk about it 5 years from now that, oh, you weren't the tough team in the game. No, you won the game. That's all that matters. And I think Ryan Day has recognized that. We won't know until Saturday for sure, but based on conversations he's had with us, stuff he said publicly, I think there is a recognition that that you can't get out of your own skin, so to speak, while playing against your biggest rival. You've just got to do what you do best.
Well, and the fact is also, the Buckeyes win this game. They win the 2025 edition of the game. I mean, they're obviously in the Big Ten title for sure, either way, which we will get to the clinchy scenarios in just a little bit, and we're going to get to one of my favorite scenarios. You win this game, you get the spoil Michigan shot at the playoffs. That should be motivation enough right there.
Well, and here's an interesting thing. So we talk a lot about conferences and how many teams is the SEC going to get into the college football playoff versus how many teams is the Big Ten going to get in. Really, the only way for the Big Ten to get 4 teams in is if Michigan wins this game. Now, Ohio State doesn't care about that, right? Ohio State fans shouldn't really care about that. But if you're trying to compare SEC, Big Ten, like it almost benefits the Big Ten for the Buckeyes to lose this game. And maybe then I guess Indiana would move to number 1, but you don't have these top 2 teams sitting at the top of the rankings that you've had for most of the season. Instead, you do have 4 teams in the playoffs, so it's an interesting, sort of situation. I think if you asked Ryan Day, anybody on that team, anybody on that staff, any Buckeye fan, they'd tell you they'd much rather have only 3 teams in and spoil Michigan's chance of sort of surprisingly making their way into the field here. It's been a better season than I think many in Ann Arbor expected it to be, at least in terms of the record. And so, there's a shot there, but Ohio State would love to put that to bed.
For sure, man, like for sure. But I will say, like after last night's edition of the playoff rankings, the 6-7 joke is gone. But we'll bring it back. Like it's coming back on the Jacksonian. I mean, South Park brought it, and the Jacksonian will bring it back. So
there you go.
Yep, the 6-7. But oh man, the clinching scenarios. Like you wrote an amazing article on this, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man. And like I saw it from Bart Rogers like Sunday night, and I was like, oh man, I have got to dive deep into this. Like I don't think I'm gonna quit diving deep for sure. And you talked about like the Buckeyes win, they're in, right?
Yep.
But there it is. For those that are watching this episode, head-to-head result between tied teams if they play one another. Win percentage against the common conference opponents. Win percentage against common opponents in the order of finish. This means comparing the records against the highest finishing common opponent, then the next, so on. Combined record or winning percentage of all conference opponents each tied team has faced, ranked by an analysis metric, in this case from Sports Source Analytics, among the tied teams. If still tied, it's a random draw. Oof. Well, win and you're in. And it looks like the Buckeyes will need some magic to happen, or make sure that there's Friday magic happening. So we've got Ohio State, Indiana. Well, this is going to be a cinch because I don't see Purdue giving Indiana a dogfight.
You wouldn't think so.
Yeah, that's your number 1 scenario. Then we get to number 2. Well, how for people tuning in, how does this need to happen exactly? Like, can Oregon could defeat Washington, but man, we could have an Indiana-Oregon rematch?
Yeah. Which when the Big Ten was sort of sending out what these tiebreakers were, I was a bit surprised to see that. You could also have, and I'm spoiling it a little bit, but if you scroll down there, I think it's scenario 6. Yeah, you can have an Ohio State-Michigan rematch. Yeah, right. When I was looking at that, I was like, oh, wow, how crazy would this be? Now, as you said earlier, Jackson, Purdue would have to beat Indiana. And let's be honest, that's just not going to happen. But if somehow it does happen, Michigan wins, Washington wins, man, a second Ohio State-Michigan game back-to-back after Ryan Day loses his 5th straight. Like, how wild would that be in a couple weeks in Indianapolis?
Man, if that happened, that would be awesome right there. And we got what would happen either way with Ohio State, Indiana. Purdue defeats Indiana. Indiana needs Ohio State to win, and they need Washington to win if they were to lose on Friday night. But an Oregon-Michigan matchup. Yikes, my dude.
Yeah, that's one that most people I don't think expected coming into the last few weeks. And, there's been so much talk about Ohio State and Indiana #1 and this potential meeting of, juggernauts, so to speak, in the Big Ten championship game. What would happen if you just don't get either of them? You get Oregon and Michigan. I think in that scenario, it does, as we were talking about a minute ago, it does help the Big Ten because you would probably get all 4 of those teams in. But not the matchup that everyone was expecting or anticipating, if that's the way it goes.
Ooh, here we go. Well, there's another Ohio State Indiana scenario again.
Yeah. I think if you look through it, the most common scenario is that Ohio State and Indiana face each other, which I think if you are a neutral fan, you're not a fan of either of those, maybe you're a Big Ten fan, maybe you're just a general college football fan, like that's the matchup I think you probably want to see just in terms of enjoyment of that game. I think that would be the most exciting between these combination of possibilities. Ohio State-Michigan rematch is always fun, but I do think that you probably prefer to see them play somebody else, and Indiana would certainly be a fun one.
Oh, man, the lights going dark. Like, Ohio State, Indiana's doing that to old Pat, man.
Yeah, I don't know. My camera got weird there.
Oh, man, camera was nice today. Oh, man. And Indiana, Michigan. Can we believe that? Oh, man. An Indiana, Michigan Big Ten title.
Yeah, especially in a year when I think a lot of people expected Indiana to kind of take a step back after the magical run last year, and then Michigan to sort of be rebuilding, to see those two in the Big Ten championship. Frankly, let's be honest. Talking about Indiana as an undefeated team in the Big Ten championship game, ranked #2, I think most people would assume you're talking Indiana basketball, right? Not Indiana football. Credit to Curt Cignetti and what he's done in Bloomington, because this is video game stuff, right? Like you take over a team that has struggled for years and years and you build them up really quickly. Like you don't see that in real life normally, but we're seeing it here.
That would be pretty cool to see an Indiana-Michigan game or like an Ohio State-Michigan game, but I personally want the revenge game. Some people say, I don't like the rivalry rematches in the regular season or in conference title week or in the playoffs, but me personally, if there's one thing I love, it's a good revenge story.
Oh, yeah. And, Ohio State fans saw it firsthand last year playing Oregon. Obviously, midseason, Oregon wins at Autzen Stadium, and then the Buckeyes go to the Rose Bowl and get up real big there. So I think it'll be interesting to see how coaches and stuff evolve as we get more and more of those. Obviously, in the NFL, division opponents, you play twice. With the playoffs, sometimes you'll see a team a second time. So it's more common there. And I think, you don't necessarily have the split like you did last year with Ohio State and Oregon as often. So how teams navigate that, playing a team a second time, is something that I think teams are still trying to figure out.
Oh, man, that's going to be interesting to see what happens. But if I'm Michigan, in a way, I would hope not to get into Big Ten title if I'm beating Ohio State again, in a way, because, if you wind up losing the Big Ten title, you're 10-3. Now, I don't think they would leave out the loser of the Big Ten title game or the SEC title game.
Yeah.
I feel like they would do that with the ACC and the Big 12. I don't like it like that, but that's the way the world works, whether we like it or not.
I think if you're Michigan and you get to the Big Ten championship game and you lose to #1 Indiana, you've got to win over #1 Ohio State, right? So I think that probably gets you in. The loss to USC, the loss to Oklahoma, I don't think anyone views those as bad losses. You lose at Oklahoma, who was ranked in the AP poll at the time, unranked USC, but again, that's on the road. You beat Ohio State at home, and say you lose a close one to Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. I think you're in it, even with 3 losses.
Yeah, man, it's it's basically, kid, you're in. There you go. And, we know the Buckeyes are in, obviously. That was a huge win over Texas in week 1. And, it's a shame we hadn't seen Ohio State play Oregon in the regular season.
Yeah.
This year, I want to see that again.
Yeah, or that Penn State was as poor as they were this year. Obviously, they looked a bit better last week. But yeah, you can make the argument Ohio State hasn't really been tested in terms of, week to week playing tough opponents, given Penn State. Like Washington looked like a pretty good game at the time, but they've fallen off. Illinois, losing last week to Wisconsin, that certainly hurts the resume a little bit in terms of strength of schedule. But, I think the Penn State one's the biggest one. Like you expected Penn State preseason number 2 to be, at least a top 5, top 10 team there. Even if they'd lost to Oregon and then bounced back the next couple weeks, you expected that to be a good game on your resume, and it obviously was not. So, that's that 4th team that we're talking about normally, right? Is Penn State being in the mix with Oregon, Indiana with the year they're having. And then you're talking about, okay, does the Big Ten get 5 teams in if Ohio State upsets Michigan? So, just disappointing. Obviously that's a disappointing season in State College, but, just affects everybody across the Big Ten.
You know what 2025 Penn State reminds me of? The 2011 Eagles.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because here's why.
Coming off that.
Everyone had high expectation for Penn State to the point where they were expecting them to go to a natty. And I was just telling people, okay, stop with that. They can't win the big game in the regular season. That's the problem Penn State has. And the Eagles in 2011, everybody had the high expectations. They were the dream team, right? But then they're 4-8. It's, we better fly right and win out. Oh, you went out, but close, but no cigar, as that Weird Al Yankovic song plays.
Yeah. I think the Penn State stuff's like, look, did you expect them to lose to Oregon? Did you expect them to lose to Ohio State? Yeah, probably. Or at least, maybe the Oregon game, it's at home. Obviously that game, I think we forget, given what Penn State's done since then, like they had a chance to win that game, right? Like how crazy is that if Drew Aller completes that pass and Penn State goes on to win? And, now James Franklin doesn't get fired. The momentum's there. You've got a top 5 win. You probably are undefeated coming to Columbus, right? And it doesn't go that way. One interception, the James Franklin situation happens and it all, catapults out of control. It'll be interesting to see what they do this offseason. Obviously the coaching carousel has started moving early this year. I think you probably want to try and make a splash with your hire, but I think the most important thing is getting the right guy there in order to keep that level and then elevate. Because look, say what you will about James Franklin losing the big games. Like he took that program from down in the dumps after the scandal, got them back to being, they were in the semifinal last year and lost narrowly to Notre Dame. This could have been an all Big Ten national championship if Drew Aller could complete a pass to a wide receiver. So, it's not like Penn State's that far away, but right now it certainly feels like that. And I think you've got to get that hire right and not just win the press conference or get a big name so that you can at least maintain it. Because you've seen it with Texas, you've seen it with USC, you've seen it with lots of programs, Alabama for a period before Nick Saban comes. Like all the talent, all this, but you don't have the right coach. And all of a sudden you go from being a perennial favorite or a top team to, is Texas back? Is USC back? We're asking that all the time. And Penn State certainly wants to at least maintain the success they've had.
Well, and honestly, if I want to get the best coach, I don't think always getting the big name will work out.
Sure.
You want to get the best fit, right fit.
And fit's important too, not just coach, but guy who fits whatever culture they want to have, the region that you're in. It's like Brian Kelly going to LSU. Like that never fit, right? Like it just, him going down and having the fake accent and trying to be Southern and, you need a coach that makes sense for your program. And that just never made sense to me. I don't think it made sense to a lot of people. And you saw how quickly that fell apart. So if you're Penn State, look, a guy like Matt Rule at Nebraska, I know has been talked about. I don't know where they'll go, but that's a guy who makes some sense just because he's got experience with Penn State. He's obviously had some success. Is it the best name? Is it the most exciting name? No. And that's just an example. One example off the top of my head. There are plenty of guys, is there a guy like a James Franklin who's at a school, James Franklin came from Vanderbilt, right? And had that program doing some things. Is there a guy out there that could, maybe isn't a household name right now, but has had some success? Or look at Kurt Cignetti. I mean, not actual Kurt Cignetti, but is there the next Kurt Cignetti out there who could come into an even better situation than Kurt Cignetti had in Indiana?
I got one.
All right, let's hear
it. He's from James Madison.
Yeah.
Bob Chesney.
Yeah.
He's your man. He's your man for Penn State. I mean, you want to win big games? He's your man.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. There was an article, I think it was on ESPN a few weeks ago. Maybe Adam Rittenberg wrote it about like trying to find the next Kurt Cignetti and like what made up Kurt Cignetti. Well, he had plenty of experience. He'd been at different schools, but the biggest thing was at every level he'd coached, he'd won. The guy knows how to win, and that's translated to Indiana. And I think every school should consider that. And that's obvious to say, right? Like, okay, when Alabama retires, or when Nick Saban retires from Alabama, you go get Kalen DeBoer, who had just had a great season and had success. Obviously, that's an easy hire to make. Now, is it the best fit? I think last year people were starting to question that a little bit. This year things look better. I think we'll need a more long-term approach. But Kalen DeBoer, that's a name that's been mentioned around Penn State too. I don't know why. I don't know why he'd leave Alabama, but I know our guys have reported some of that at least he is of interest to the Nittany Lions. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it happens.
Yeah, that's what I say to that. Blah. My bias is showing, so it's like I'm honest. So it's like about it.
That's fair.
Oh man! Like if we hear that tonight on the Alabama College show, I don't think I'm gonna get out of this chair from laughing. It's like I'm probably gonna be fall off laughing, but oh man.
Well, and then the other thing you have to consider for all of these jobs, all these openings, like if you want to hire somebody, and that's why this Lane Kiffin stuff has been so wild. Like say Penn State was after Kalen DeBoer, or you use maybe a more realistic example, Brian Hartline, the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, because his name's been thrown around. I don't think he's a realistic candidate. I don't think he has enough experience. But just for the sake of this conversation, say they're going after a Brian Hartline or somebody who's going to be coaching in the college football playoff. Can you afford to wait until that season is over to make the hire? You've got early signing day coming up.
Yeah.
Like if that team makes a deep run, you're going to miss the transfer portal window. Like it's the schedule doesn't make sense and doesn't help these teams. And I think that's part of the reason you're seeing teams fire their coaches early so that they can get a head start on this stuff and try and get a coach in by the time the early signing period starts. Look, it's less than a month now till we're going to be talking about that.
They ought to move the portal window to the middle of February and just have like the old signing day back to early February instead of it just being 2 signing days. But that's just me.
Yeah. Well, the issue you run into there is the academic side of thing. And I know that only matters a little bit, but like players need to enroll in school, right? And so if you're transferring in February, you're going to miss that whole semester. And, so as long as these teams are still attached to school, these kids are in school, you're going to have to somehow work with the academic calendar, which makes things a little complicated.
That's
but
fair.
I think there are better ways to do it than what they've got now, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, I would say move it to like May or like after spring practice, like just have it be like May and everybody's happy. And I was going to suggest have it on Valentine's Day, like as a joke, but also kind of serious because like, hey, we gotta have some college football Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
I mean, I love watching Charlie Brown on Valentine's Day, but and eating some yummy chocolates. But oh man! But I will say though, we get to prediction time for the 2025 edition of the game. What is your score prediction for the Ohio State against the Michigan?
Yeah, I haven't come up with a final score yet. I do think I'm going to pick Ohio State. I work for a website that is funded by Ohio State fans, and I'm marrying a woman who's a huge Ohio State fan and things like that. So I might be in trouble if I don't. Like I said earlier, like I think there's a lot of reasons that Ohio State's the favorite. I just think talent-wise, the Buckeyes are on that side of things. The biggest thing is how they handle this game, and if it isn't too big in their heads and whatnot. You do have to overcome going on the road, no doubt about it. And you have to, maybe the weather to some degree. We'll see what it's actually like when we get up there on Saturday. But this team has done such a good job all year under Ryan Day of taking it 1 week at a time and handling everything that's come their way. And I think that they'll be able to do that again this weekend. If I'm just kind of spitballing, like, it would not surprise me if this ends up being like I don't know, 2014 low scoring kind of game. I think if you're Ohio State's defense, you probably feel pretty good that you can hold a Michigan offense that's getting better, but still not great. A couple freshmen, several freshmen playing really. I think you feel like if you can hold them to 14 and the offense can score 20, obviously you win that. But, I think you think that that's pretty realistic to do. The defense hasn't been an issue in these games for the most part. I know they've given up big runs a few times in some of these games, but a couple of those, especially in 2021, 2022, like those came later in the game once Michigan was kind of already ahead. So the defense has more or less played well. And last year, obviously, only given up 13 points. Like, that's enough that if the offense had been able to move the ball, you should be able to win. So that's why I'm leaning Ohio State. I wouldn't be entirely shocked if Michigan wins the game. I would be a little surprised. Just like I said, the talent gap, I think, is still there. But they are at home, and there is a lot on the line. Like, that can motivate a team. And again, if Ryan Day gets conservative or whatnot, then I think that could negatively impact Ohio State.
Agreed. And just looking at this game, every time I look at both these teams, I feel like both of them are just saving their best selves for one another.
Sure.
And that's a great example. That was Michigan Northwestern. Because like Northwestern's bringing their A game against Michigan, right? Because everybody's gonna bring their A game against Ohio State or Michigan. That's just how it is. But I don't think you're going to be seeing a high offensive scoring battle. I feel like this game is going to be low scoring. The defenses are just going to be grounding and pounding one another.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be, for the first time since 2019, where Margot Robbie was sitting at that movie theater on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Ohio State Buckeyes in that losing streak to the Michigan Wolverines, 21-17.
All right. Yeah, I think we're close.
But no cigar. Oh, man. But before we put just kind of end the show, what are your top 5 favorite moments of the game all time?
Yeah, that's tough. I will say, so I'll have at least one on the Michigan side, and I will say just because I think it's so iconic when Desmond Howard did the Heisman pose. Like, that's one of those things that I think just like lives in the history of the rivalry. If you're on the Ohio State side, you hate it, right? But it's still just iconic. I think in 2006, and I may not, these probably won't be in any sort of order, but 2006, when Ohio State and Michigan played 1 versus 2, Ohio State ran a play where Ted Ginn Jr. basically lined up as a tight end. Troy Smith play fakes, I think it was to Antonio Pittman, and then like holds the ball behind him and just launches this pass to Ted Ginn for a touchdown. So that one's in there. Tyvis Powell intercepting the 2-point conversion up in Ann Arbor in, I don't remember what year that was, 2010 maybe. I was at that game actually in the stands, and I've gotten to know Tyvis a little bit since then. So we've talked about that. The Curtis Samuel overtime touchdown run, that would definitely be number 1 for me, just because I was literally standing in the end zone right where Curtis came. I actually have a video of the whole play from the end zone. And if you watch the ESPN broadcast, I'm standing there like with my phone out as he gets into the end zone. So that's cool.
Oh,
yeah, that was a cool moment.
Game. Oh,
yeah.
that's so cool.
And let's see, I need one more. Whew, there's just so many.
Don't mess with me, Disney. Don't mess with me. I literally don't do it. Well, you know what? I won't fight Disney for now.
Yeah.
It's tough, but not that tough.
I'll say just because it was so controversial, and I could probably think of a better one if I really spent some time on it. But the JT Barrett rush, that was also in the Curtis Samuel game. The Michigan people say he didn't cross the line on 4th down. Ohio State says he does. The officials say it's a first down. I remember Jim Harbaugh running up to the referee and losing his mind. Yeah, there are some great ones. If I had time to really sit down and list them all, I could probably come up with 20, 25 that stood out in my head.
Oh, there we go. Let's see. Here we go. I think I found you. I think I found you on 26.
Oh.
I think I did. But because you know what? But it's not like I've got the game paused. I've got it paused. I don't. Here we go. Come on, Disney. Don't mess with me. Don't do the mess around. Oh, here we go. I think I found you because you said you're on your phone for that one.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, you got a little baby face. I love it.
Yeah, that was quite some time ago. But yeah, there I was right there recording.
Oh my God, that's so awesome, my God.
What's funny about that is anytime I pull up the video, like the quality of cell phone videos was so much worse back. Like it's only 9 years ago, right? But it like comes up and it's all pixelated and whatnot instead of being the videos of today. And at the time, it looked great. But that was pretty cool. I've been fortunate to be in the right place at the right time in a couple games. That Ohio State Penn State game where JT Barrett completes 16 straight passes and they win in overtime. I was in the end zone for the winning touchdown there. There was an overtime against Wisconsin too. It was probably 2015 where I was right on the end zone marker as Ohio State scored. I was actually in pretty good position last year when Jack Sawyer had the strip sack of Quinn Ewers. I was standing by Ohio State's bench, and Ryan Day's wife and his two daughters were standing, and another woman were standing like right next to me as Jack Sawyer comes running by. So they were losing their minds. I've just happened to be fortunate to be in a couple right places at the right time.
Oh man, like you got to see some awesome moments, man. Like throughout your history at Bucknuts247, throughout your career, man. That's awesome, my guy.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool.
Oh man, well, my 5 for me.
Okay.
1950, the Snow Bowl.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good one.
1969, the start of the 10-year war between Bo and Woody, where the Michigan Wolverines upset the Ohio State Buckeyes on ABC in living color to start off the Bo-Woody rivalry. 1973, the 10-10 tie.
Yeah.
The Buckeyes get in. The no repeat rule is gone. The Buckeyes get in. The Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Man, and just like thinking back on it, yesterday was the 75th anniversary of the Snow Bowl.
Yeah.
2006 between Ohio State, Michigan, 1 and 2.
Yeah, that game was crazy.
Man, that was fire, man. Like that was awesome, and especially when you got Brent Musburger calling it.
Right. Oh yeah.
And then that 2016 game, like boom, classic.
Yes. Yeah. There's been some fun ones. Like even when Ohio State has dominated that period there under Tressel and Urban Meyer, there were still some really good games. I mean, people think of just like Buckeyes dominated. There were some fun ones in there from a neutral perspective.
Yeah, I mean, like I can't help but feel like that after this year, you're really gonna be seeing Ryan Day and Sharon Moore giving a dogfight to one another. Honestly, that's what I feel like.
Which I think is what you want, even though you want your team to win every year. Like, I don't know, like it's always fun for Ohio State, from an Ohio State fan perspective, to beat Michigan, right, and vice versa. But if the games are competitive and like one team's winning one year and maybe one team wins two in a row and then the other team comes back, like that's what makes rivalries fun, right? When you can talk some trash and whatnot. Like when one team's just dominating the other, then it's still fun for the winning team. Don't get me wrong, but it eventually just becomes, I don't know, not dull, not repetitive, but just doesn't have that same juice to it.
There you go, man. And that concludes episode 91 of the Jacksonian, all right here. And for those who don't know about you and want to learn about the magic that you create, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, we're over at Bucknuts on the 247 Sports Network. So if you just search Bucknuts in Google or whatnot, you'll find it. We're also on all the social media sites, as you can see on the screen there. So yeah, come find us. I think we do some pretty good work. And if you're a YouTube person, which I assume you are if you're watching this, we post our podcasts, our interviews with players and coaches on the Bucknuts YouTube page. Just search Bucknuts247 Sports. You'll find us on there as well.
There you go. And you can check out all the magic that you see from Steve Hellwagon, who's on a wagon rolling west every week, and the magic that Patrick Murphy creates, Dave Biddle, and Garrett Hodges. There's a couple names I'm leaving out by accident.
Yeah, no, you got most of them.
Well, I'll make sure to do better next time. You can check out the magic that Patrick Murphy creates on _Pat_Murphy on @/Twitter. You can check him out on Instagram and Threads at _Pat_Murphy_. And you can check him out on Blue Sky Social at Patrick Murphy at Blue Sky Social, where friend of the Jacksonian, Mike Debate, says where the skies are blue. Some say the skies are gray. Some say the skies are overcast, but I say to each their own. There you go. And you can check me out on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, where Travion Ware and myself went on last night's edition of Primetime Live, talking about whether Ryan Grubb is possibly leaving Alabama for Cal, whether Kane Womack is leaving for Arkansas, and we talk about our reaction to Alabama being ranked 10th. And could we play Oregon? It's a possibility, as they say. But you can also check out Monday's edition of Crimson Tide Live, where Jeffrey at Only Talk Sports, Travion, and myself were joined by Kyle Loomis of E2C Network, previewing the Iron Bowl, going over our favorite moments and much, much more. And you can check out all 90 other episodes of the Jacksonian on Jackson Johnson 979. We're 9 episodes away from that magic number 100. Love to get there before the end of the year. That's all I really want for Christmas. But we are 274 subscribers away from the magic number 1,000. Thank you for helping us get closer and closer to 1,000 subs on Jackson Johnson 979. And for more updates of what I've got going on the Jacksonian, Alabama with the Voice of College Football. Oh, one more thing. SEC at the Voice of College Football. How could I forget that? Got some magic with some friends, including Monday night, where I'll be joined by Samuel Recker from College Football with Sam at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for more updates, what I've got going on the Jacksonian, Alabama with the Voice of College Football, SEC at the Voice of College Football, once a week, twice a week calls on the Paul Fireball Show, and 3 times a week or less or more appearances on Locked Out West Virginia for Jackson's World College Football with Mountaineer Paul discussing the Mountaineers. Check me out on JacksVOCFB on @/Twitter and on Instagram page Jackson Johnson 543-908. And you can check me out on Blue Sky at Jackson Johnson 97 Blue Sky Social, where some say the skies are gray, the skies are blue, the skies are overcast, but I say to each their own. And with that being said, we wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and to stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out. And like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss no video whatsoever. And we will be seeing you soon. Take care, everybody.